Hello, everybody. We should have this multi-view of what I call the tuning fork at this point, and now we're going to work on dimensioning this thing. So, a couple little things about this. One is that up here in the upper right-hand corner is the isometric. The isometric is kind of like a visual gift. So we can manipulate that, we can shade it, we can make it a different scale than the rest of the drawing. So I think I'm going to do both of those things. So please do this with me and right click. And first of all, we're going to show a shaded view. I will often refer to this as making it pretty because it can look different. Now these we don't want to shade. These we want to leave as just the outlines. Now, we can also change the scale of that, and I think I'm going to make it a little smaller to get it out of my way because I think it's going to interfere with some of the dimensions in the right side view. So we can, again, right-click. We can click on View Properties, and then this window pops up that says, well, what all the stuff that it has. Now, 1 to 6 is what was brought in from the parent view, which it automatically chose for us. But I think I'm going to make it a little smaller by clicking down here and maybe going 1 to 8. I think that'll should be a choice for you. You could type it in if you had to also. Now, I don't like this little scale thing, and we don't really need that. So I'm going to get rid of the scale label and check. Okay, and now that's a little smaller, and it can be out of my way, so I have more room for my dimensioning. Right now, there's one other issue. Look at the multi-views and see if you notice a problem. Hopefully you notice that there are no hidden lines. There should be hidden lines in the front view that are where this edge is and where that edge is, but they aren't there. So to fix that, you can go to the front view, right-click on it, and you will see where it should say Show Hidden Lines. So click on Show Hidden Lines, and now it will update that. The default may be that it doesn't do that for us, so we might have to do that each time. I'm not sure. All right, now we're ready to start dimensioning just like we did in the book, following the method. Let's go width first. Going across, starting at 0. How many edges do I hit? 1, 2. The hidden line counts, even though it's hidden. It's still an edge. 3. So I'm going to need 3 dimensions in the width direction. Let's start with that. Now, I'm going to do 2 of them in this view, the overall length, and then that's where I see this protrusion. But I'm not going to do this slot up here because then I'd have to dimension to a hidden line. That's a no-no. All right, so to do this, we're going to go up to dimension. Now, first of all, I'm going to show you what's going to happen when you do this. You go to click a dimension, like for example, let's say I want to dimension that line. You'll notice that it has by default 3 decimal places. We can change it individually by clicking on that little icon that pops up, but there's an easier way because we don't need 3 decimal places. Everything's only down to 1 whole number. So over here on the right is your little drawing properties wrench thing that we can click on and expand that. We're going to change the precision just for this drawing to 0 decimal places because we don't need any. And then we can click on the wrench to put it back. So again, we click precision drop down, set it at 0 decimal places. And now when we go dimension this, it will show up as only 1 place. Okay. So we're going to start with the width first. Now, 2 ways of dimensioning. One is when you click the dimension tab, you can do there's actually 3 ways. We can click on a line and pull out, click with the mouse to place it. We can also click on 2 points, like that dot and that dot. Okay. Same idea. And you got to escape if you want to select it. Or we can click from line to line. Okay, so all of those different methods work. And you pick which works for you. Although there are times where that won't work well. Let me show you one example. So if we're going to dimension, let's say the overall width in the front view, if you click on this line down here on the bottom, you can do that. The problem with that is that, look, it doesn't make a gap where we should have that. There is a gap, but the gap is down there on the bottom. So this is a case where we should use 2 dots instead of selecting a line. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. We're in the front view. I'm going to do those 2 views. Click on dimension. I usually start from the smallest to the largest. Now, where should it go? By the way, if you pull this guy out, it'll go all sorts of different places, but we're going to try and keep that in the middle since there's enough room. That is too close. That is too far. Eventually, you'll start kind of figuring out where these things should go. That's about the right placement of it. The next one is going to be from that dot to that dot. I'm still in the dimension command. Okay, and it's going to be a little shorter. Try and keep it'll kind of snap to where the middle is. And then finally, the third one I'm going to do up here. Now, again, this is where I'm going to have to use a dot. And yes, we are going to have an extension line go across the object, but that's okay. Dimension lines should not, but extension lines can. All right, I'm going to hit escape to get out of command. And I needed 3 dimensions. I've got 3 dimensions in the width. Okay, now the height. In the height, starting at the base, moving upwards, I hit bump, bump, bump. So again, I'm going to have 3. Again, I don't want to dimension to a hidden line, so I think I'll do the major 2 in it's kind of the same thing we just did. That one. And then again, the 2 dots. And notice that we'll try and give you can go either way. So you have to kind of play around with your mouse and knowing what you're doing. And then my height of this is going to be here. Click, click. And again, try and be consistent with how far away your first dimension is away from the object. All right, so I needed 3 in the height. I've got them. I needed 3 in the width. I've got them. Now in the depth, we got a bunch. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the depth. Now, I'm going to go up here with this guy for at least 1, 2, 3 of them. And then I think we'll do the rest over here where I see that notch sticking out. All right, so I'm still in the dimension command. Now it does show, it's kind of interesting when I'm lined up with that one on the bottom. So, so it will keep these even with each other. Then we're going to go now. You could do this, but what this is called chain dimensioning, where you go from one place to the next place to the next place. And we want to avoid that. We'll explain that later, but I always want to go from one place. Notice down here I did the same thing. I went from one place to do the overall height and that little notch rather than a 4 and then a 6. So we're going to do that same thing here. From that same point we started to the next point out. And then from the point that we started to the overall depth. Okay, so note we're always going from one place. Now I only have 3. Now I'm ready for the next one. By the way, I don't need this because I can do the math. Okay. So the next one I think we'll do in this view. You could choose this or this. It doesn't really matter. Come up here and place that. And now I could either do the 2 over here or I could do the whole thing. I tend to prefer going from one place rather than move around all over. There is a reason for that. And I'll get into again later. Whoops, I didn't. Now I placed that 8 where I didn't like it. That's okay. I can come back and grab it again and just, learn how to use your mouse. and place things. All right, so I needed 5 in the depth direction. I have 3 of those 5 up here in the top view and 2 of the 5, and I got them done. All right, so there's your fully dimensioned tuning fork. Hope it went well. See you soon.